I'm looking at my storyboard from 1981 on The Beast Within, and it brings back a lot of memories. I remember drawing the 2:3:5 Panavision ratio squares, 4 squares per page. The first thing's kind of interesting. It's what I called a camera map, not a shot, and it was a way of showing the crew really easily exactly what I wanted to do. This was my first studio picture, so I had this storyboard as a backup. I don't normally use storyboards, but it's good to have if you want to show the crew immediately what you want. Now I'm looking at the close-ups here. First close-up of Caroline, another 2 miles, and then they have an accident, and well, if you've seen the film, you'll know what happens. He has to leave her. Of course, he has to leave her. It's a horror movie, and he doesn't know that she's going to be raped. There's some details on the hubcap. The hubcap pops here. I remember my DP telling me we're going to shoot that in reverse, so that I don't know. He had some complicated thing with a mirror. Oh, I know what it was. The car crashed into a mirror, which meant that they had to drive on the other side of the road so that it would look as if it was on the right side of the road for you, dear viewers. So now we're getting really into a bit of detail here. I had to show the studio how I was going to do that first rape. That's why this is pretty detailed, with Caroline, played by B.B. Besh, and the dog, and the storyboards of the... I'm looking at the storyboards of the forest here. And the dog jumps out as she, down the bottom of the storyboard, close-up of her saying Thor. There's another camera map down on the bottom left-hand corner, scene 9, page 5. Then I did a... I loved comics, by the way, so I really enjoyed doing the storyboard. So Caroline's POV, you see the beast silhouette rears up in frame, sniffs. My theory with the beast was not to show too much, or, less is more, actually, at the beginning of the film. And there was this theme of the cicadas. There's the implication that the beast is a man cicada, or a were-cicada, as amusingly people described it. This was the first were-cicada movie. But one regret I have is I didn't get close-ups of bugs on the tree, which I drew here. I think National Geographic kind of a bug shot would have been great. Anyway, Caroline sees Thor on page 7, and Thor is dead, and Caroline screams. That was a big close-up of her screaming. Again, the film kind of followed this to a point, but it's not exactly what happened in the film. And this storyboard was really done to show the studio and the producer that I knew where I was going. Now, particularly the rape scene was sensitive. How are you going to do the rape scene? So it starts, scene 12. You see the hand of my drawings. They're kind of cool. I like these. And the beast is big silhouette. He looks like the abominable snowman there. There's a little map there on the left, on the final frame on that page. Then how are we going to do this rape scene? So, she bangs her head, she falls down, and there's that gigantic beast. I mean, the beast is bigger. I'm looking at scene 12, day 2, and there's a huge beast there again. I mean, he wasn't quite as big as that in the movie, but certainly was scary, and he rips off her blouse, which is kind of why a cicada would rip off a woman's blouse, who knows, but that's what we did. And it was pretty explicit, so that you see the breasts there. So the studio approved that we were going to see breasts and a naked woman. And the beast bends down to mount Caroline, according to the storyboard. Once again, the studio approved all this, and I didn't want to get into a situation where they would say, you didn't tell us you were going to do this. Well, so they approved. Then down the bottom of that page, scene 12, there's no page number on the storyboard here, but you see the beast between her legs, and you see the frame underneath. You see the two little arrows in alternate directions, which was my I guess, a way of saying that the beast is in action on Caroline. And then again, the next page, a big close-up of a bug. And again, I don't know why we didn't have it in. It just, certainly no one stopped me, as far as I recall. But that would have been terrific. But the scene is still very effective, and for a horror movie which is supposed to freak people out, it freaked people out. So Caroline has been raped, and then we see a truck arriving. There's a little camera map there, and Ronnie Cox jumps out. Caroline, he's screaming, Caroline, Caroline, and he finally finds her. There's a camera map there on how we shot that. I like tracking shots in Panavision 235. I always did. It was fantastic shooting in that format, which of course now, goodbye Panavision 35mm, it is now all, as you know, folks, digital. So Caroline has blank eyes. I don't know whether even that was in the movie, but this shot was page 8, day 3. The shot of the truck going off. Then we cut to a title, 17 years later. And I've written slow there. I'm not sure what I meant. Page 13 to 14, Caroline says, I was attacked and raped. And Ronnie Cox says, but he's my son. And this is pretty straightforward storyboarding here. The doctor's asking whether they had any other kids. The kid is pretty sick, apparently. And again, it seems to be slightly different from the finished film. The doctor tells them that we've done everything we possibly can for Michael. He's obviously a bit sick. And then Michael escapes, as I recall here. And again, there's a simple camera map up the top here, page 23. And it's a bit difficult following the storyboard without the script, actually. But the key thing for this storyboard was, by the way, that rape scene, at least for the beginning. Michael screams, he's having flashbacks to the trapdoor, his prehistory or the spirit in him. He's remembering the trapdoor. Now, this is where it got complicated, and still is complicated, figuring out the plot. And I'm not going to try and figure it out now. It's too late. The film's a success. It's a big cult film. I'm happy. Close-up of the floorboards being pounded, a crescendo. Michael screams. He's having nightmares. I mean, the good thing about nightmares in a horror movie, as you know, is it lets the director basically do anything. Because it's a nightmare, right? So there are no rules. Will you let me sleep? This is on page 28. Michael's freaking out. He sees the black pit in the basement, the black pit in that house. And he goes down and he says, I know who you are. Well, that beats me and beats a lot of other people because we don't really know who he is. And then the cops and the Magnificent Five or Six, who are chasing everyone down, which is R.G. Armstrong and Elgue Jones and that cast of Peckinpah stalwarts. They're all walking around with torches down here, and then they see a skull. Scene 169, page 94. Now those page numbers, by the way, I think they refer to the script, obviously, and because the script changed, they're probably a little bit inaccurate, but this storyboard was from the first script. So they see a figure, a vague outline of a figure grunting, gnawing, and almost dark. That's page A1 in the storyboard. There's a storyboard here, a blast of light as the trapdoor opens and the silhouette of a dummy falling on the camera. A woman is thrown down. Now, I don't think that's in the finished movie, so that's kind of interesting for you Uber buffs. There were script changes. What a surprise. So Eli arrives with the cops in the storyboard, which is marked here, page 94, from the original script. Eli draws a gun. He goes down. We don't know what happens. You'll have to see the movie now, folks. And then Michael sees the house. Now, I did a great shot, which based on the Andrew Wyeth painting of the girl in the field looking at the house. For some reason, the studio didn't like that. They thought they didn't understand Andrew Wyeth horror. They get scared at any cultural reference. It's a little bit highbrow for them. So unfortunately, I had to cut that great shot out. Michael was posed as if in an Andrew Wyeth painting. Anyway, I'm turning the page here, and Eli says, nobody's left at the gas station anymore. This is Eli and Caroline's POV as they enter Niobe to find out what happened to their son. Lionel Kerwin murdered last night. That's cover Caroline's dialogue. It's an instruction to me. Same time, the same night. So they're starting to unravel the story of what happened in Niobe, which is good because no one else really ever has. The phone rings. Michael's missing, he says there on the storyboard. Well, he was. Michael took off. And you know, when Michael takes off, that's bad news for everybody. Caroline turns, revealing scars on her back. Now, that's very interesting because I don't think that's in the movie either. And that would have been quite cool in a horror film kind of way. Scars on her back, close up. Nope. So, Yum Yum Donut and Niobe Outlook, we cut back to Caroline and Ronnie Cox in the village, in the little town of Niobe. And the immortal line, looks peaceful enough, says Ronnie. Well, he's about to find out it ain't peaceful. So, that's where this storyboard ends. Well, I think it's kind of interesting. My comment on it is I like some of the drawings. It's interesting and annoying for me to see some great stuff in there that should have been in the movie that isn't. But however, it's here, we're talking about it. And that would include the Andrew Wyeth painting that I filmed that was cut out. The scars on Caroline, which I didn't film, which I think would have been good. And I miss the bugs.